Welcome to Happy Hour Animations, where we analyze great cartoons with even greater spirits. Grab a glass or a bottle of your favorite intoxicating beverage and get ready for today's lively discussion. I am your host, Becky, and today I have two amazing guests with me, Kenny and Alex. So each of us with Seis Manos, which is the show we'll be discussing today, have watched it different level of time, varying amounts of times, and all have different. So we do have different levels of experience with it because we have watched it different levels of time. So Kenny is more of casual watcher. Alex he's watched it a couple of times, but he also brings a lot of film knowledge to the table with his family being working in the film industry.
Don't get your hopes up. Please don't get your hopes up, especially because we're drinking.
Don't listen to his self-deprecating statements. He knows a lot about film industry, history, and whatnot. And I have watched Seis Manos probably
13 times, he said.
13
times.
But in the case I'm wrong.
And coincidentally, 13 times, I think this is also our 13th attempt at this podcast because my computer died.
That is true.
I have watched the show a lot, so I come in 13. With someone who has watched the show a lot and know a lot about it.
What if I just do this number right here?
Our key word for today that we'll be drinking to is anything related to combat. So combat, fighting, kung fu, any of those words we will be drinking to tonight. So listen up for those. Drink without us if you hear it and we don't
without us?
Drink without us if they hear the word and we don't drink because we get caught up in our fucking conversation.
Which tends to happen.
It happens a lot.
That is true.
So anyway, let's roll right into talking about Seis Manos and give a quick synopsis. Would one of you like to start us off with that?
I can start.
Okay.
I'm too casual. I watched it once.
He's the normie. He watched it this morning.
Get out here, noob.
So, what we're looking at takes place in Mexico in the 1970s. And it's very obviously takes place in the 70s. Like, as soon as you start watching it, you'll think, oh, these characters look like they're in the 70s with their hairstyles and their suits and sunglasses and whatnot. But anyway, the main characters are these three orphans. There's Isabella, Jesus, and Silencio. And they are basically just training in kung fu, I believe, right? Is it kung fu is technically...
it's kind of
I guess there's varying sort of fighting styles in this.
Yeah, there are three main styles that we see with the three main characters, the orphans, Isabella, Silencio, and Jesus. So we do see three main styles with them. It's Hunga, drunken boxing, and then bakme, I think is how it's said. Excuse me if I butchered that. So we do see these three main styles of kung fu throughout the series with those three. Continue the synopsis though.
And so they have a teacher, Sifu. What's it? Chu? Is that how you say it?
I think it's Chiu.
Chu?
I think it's Chu.
I don't know. I'm white, man. I have no.
Pretty sure it's Chu.
Yeah.
We'll just call him Master Sifu or Sifu. Let's
Sifu.
call him Sifu.
That's what they
Sifu.
9 times out of 10 they call him Sifu. So Sifu is their master. He's trained them all and he's basically their father figure because they're orphans. And that's those are the main characters, and the main antagonist of the show is this big bald guy. And when I say big, I mean emphasis on big. And when I say bald, emphasis on bald.
El Balde.
El Balde, voiced by Danny Trejo.
Amazing.
And he's basically like a drug kingpin and the town they live in, San Simon, he's basically like aiming to take over this town, the territory for his drug kingpinnery and whatnot.
Okay, so to boil it down just a little bit more and make it somewhat more condensed for anyone who has not seen this show, Seis Manos is about these three orphans who are raised by a kung fu master, and basically how they are just plunged into these scenarios with drug lords, magic, and bitter rivalries between their master and another figure that we will discuss later, and how they deal with this and try to stay a family throughout it. So, first impressions about this show. Kenny, kick it off, you casual.
what the fuck am I watching? Why am I watching this? I could see it being a good show, but I feel like just one watch for a casual type, like, oh, I seen it on Netflix. Maybe I'll give it a try. If I hadn't had to have watched it, I probably would have gotten like 2 episodes in and been like, okay, what else can we watch today? There's a lot of redeeming qualities, and I think that it could be a fantastic show, but base level, yeah, I wouldn't personally go for a second watch through in case I missed anything. I would love to watch a second season, but I'm not jumping out of my chair to get to a second season.
So if they started off the second season strong in a way that was a little more fitting to what you were looking for, you would be a lot more excited about the show and maybe forgive the first season for what you think it lacked in more?
I think if they addressed like the couple things that I noticed, like pacing and maybe the audio, then yeah. Okay. I probably head more towards a second season, but I mean that's...
We'll get into that in here in just a second. What was your first impression, Alex?
So I come at this like a little bit differently because unlike you guys, I don't watch a lot of animation. Mm-hmm. Pretty much I'm only watching animation if you are like...
if I'm putting a gun to your head.
If you're like...
Watch it now.
Pretty much.
That's how she kind of is. And watch this fucking show. It's brilliant.
Yeah. That's generally my, like, how I end up watching animation normally. So, I'm coming at this from a more, like, traditional, whatever you want to call me, film nerd. You'd hype me up in the open, so I guess I gotta roll with that.
Yeah. Well, you do. You watch a lot of, like, Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson movies.
Anybody with the name Anderson.
Yeah, any Anderson movie.
And this is not, for anybody who's, like, in the similar position to me, like, this is not, like, a Paul Thomas Anderson, or don't listen to that, basically. But... Anyway, what this show does have is there's a lot of elements of like 70s kung fu movies, like Bruce Lee movies or whatever, and there's also like some like exploitation, like 70s B movie type stuff. And so that was really appealing to me, and like I had never seen that in like an animated like medium necessarily. So I thought the way they took those elements and kind of spliced it into this show was pretty creative. So that was my, like, initial impression of the show.
That's solid. So I clearly am, between the three of us, I am the super fan. I have watched this show a lot. It's worth noting, actually, that the series was written by 2 gentlemen, one of which who worked on Castlevania, that I also really like. Not quite as much as Seis Manos, but I do still really like it. So it was written by him, so if you see a lot of overlap in style, that is why. And the second gentleman wrote Machete, which might explain the Danny Trejo crossover.
Mexico, like,
yeah, that hack and slash kind of violent demeanor.
Is Castlevania a Netflix original as well?
Yeah, it is. I think you'd actually probably like that more than Seis Manos, but we're here to talk about Seis Manos.
It was just, it's weird. It's like, you kind of have to, like, go in not expecting anything. Mm-hmm. Because if you go in, like, with, like, some movie expectations, you're going to hit the tropes, and you're going to be like, oh, cool, yeah.
See, that's interesting, though, because I didn't, like... And like you said, I watched it probably twice. I watched it, I think the first time you watched it, I watched it with you.
It was me and Alex and a group of friends. We were all hanging out, and we just happened upon it.
It was just like a random...
We ended up watching like 6 episodes of it because we were all just like so enticed by it. So we had a complete opposite reaction to you.
You went into it, she was been like hyping this up.
Yeah, she was hyping it up, and then I watched it.
I went into it expecting absolutely nothing. Right, I was just like, oh, it's animation. I've been meaning to watch it. I don't know what it's about, but I've been meaning to watch it because I like the animation that I was seeing.
I don't have the text on me because I got yelled at for having my phone. But it was... oh, it's excellent world building, and the fight scenes are just so great. And I was you didn't say it was an animation either. So when I found it, I was like, oh, great. Another one of the shows that I hear weekly. Oh, you have to watch this show. It's so great. So, like, I went into it, like, what in the hell is this? And then it was like, Mexico Kung Fu. And I was like, this is Nacho Libre, but worse. Like,
I love Nacho
to be fair, Nacho Libre, but actual decent fighting. I've already drank all my drink.
What the fuck? I'm gonna have to.
I'm the only one drinking when fighting is called.
Sorry, I get involved.
He's going.
But you're doing a lot of talking. That's all right.
It was all right. I think one of the big things that one of the big things was the animation for me. The backgrounds were great. I think the backgrounds were awesome, and even that like the objects. Detailed. Yeah, the characters not so much because, and why they do that is they can draw all the backgrounds and stuff, and then they can kind of CGI shoehorn characters in, and it makes the process a little bit quicker. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't like. There's a couple scenes where they stand out against the backgrounds, but I thought the backgrounds were
really good.
The real high point of the animation for me.
Yeah, what did you think the high and low points of the animation were?
Probably about the same as him. The clearly like the backgrounds are the most detailed, and especially like the scenery. Mm-hmm. You know, little like buffers they have. Like
the little like clip-ins and like the film grain and stuff.
And then the film grain. That's another thing that goes back to what I was saying about the 1970s like films. Like they put this film grain on it, which I thought was like a pretty like neat idea.
I thought it was something wrong with my TV at first, and then like I switched shows. Yeah, I switched shows, and then I realized
I mean it's basically it's like the back in the 70s.
The little
not to get too like history lesson or anything. But back in the 70s, they would like, shoot with film, and like that's the texture of the film you're seeing. And of course, it's like a piece of paper. Like a piece of paper is not going to be totally, clean or perfect. So there's going to be like little pops in there and whatnot. So that's what the film grain thing is. And I thought it was cool. I've never seen it applied to like an animation before.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever been. As far as I know, it's never been
that I can remember. So. I thought that was really creative and cool, and like a nice tie-in with like a whole 70s vibe.
Yeah, I definitely agree that. See, don't listen to him. He knows all about film. But I definitely agree. I think they did a lot of cool cinematic tricks with the animation that you don't see very often, and the backgrounds in this are so solid, so detailed. But Kenny did bring up a good point that the characters are very simplistic. You see a lot of texturing in the backgrounds,
and on things like tables, chairs.
Yeah.
Like even the liquor bottles had like they just have like a flat shirt with like little shade. There's no shading on the skin at all.
Except for
and it doesn't really bother me. I'm okay with seeing different styles of animation come together.
It's an interesting style for sure. I just wish they would have, even if it was like more self shady.
I do agree that the main characters are very well, actually I should just say the people are very simplistic in the way that they are drawn. In comparison to the background pieces, which are textured, you see a lot of detail and shading. I think to blend it just a little bit better, they probably could have added a little bit more to the characters, but I still think it's really solid.
But it made it easier for like the fight scenes and stuff.
Yeah, it's easier to animate when the characters
There's nothing
similar.
there.
Yeah. So it didn't necessarily bother me because I understand it. But if they really wanted to go balls to the fucking wall, they absolutely could have done that. But from a standpoint understanding what it's like to animate, I've done light animation in my time and art, so I understand how tedious that process can be, and I understand it from that point. But again, if they're going to go balls to the wall, they absolutely could have done that, and I think it would have really paid off from a viewer standpoint.
One thing I wanted to say kind of about the animation was, or I guess more of like a question to you guys, is what'd you think of, this is a very gory show.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the animation, like, in the gore?
So...
Because I thought it was, again, I'm not super, you guys could probably be, like, you're more well-versed in this than I am. But, like, I thought the gore was, like, probably some of the best animation on here.
I'll tie that in.
At least better than, like, the generic characters.
I'm gonna tie that into another thing I actually wanted to talk about, the gore and the combat, because I think the two kind of go together rather nicely. You don't see the gore without the combat. Drink it up. I think this is a very combat driven show. You can tell that they've done their research with the combat, the moves that they make, the choreography.
That was one thing that I would say, just from a casual viewer, is it felt like it was like an Ip Man movie.
Yeah.
Where it's not just like the stylized like like it's they actually have like real animation moves that they do. It's very based on actual martial arts, which is kind of nice to see, because I mean, nowadays it's kind of expected in a martial arts movie, but
it's not, if you're gonna feature martial arts or some form of
you gotta
fighting,
have the background.
Yeah, you really have to do your research to get that authenticity.
It's nice that each character too, the talking about the three main characters, kind of have their own like styles. Of fighting. And it's not just like the same shit.
And they play off each other too. And so when they're fighting the dogs in the jail, he's very like in the dog's face, and like Jesus is like grabbing it and picking it up, and she's like striking it, trying to get it in its like vital spots.
Right.
Yeah, and there's something actually I kind of want to talk about with that, if I can, just to spotlight it for a second. I noticed this watching because Hunga, the style that she used, and again, I'm sorry if I butcher the pronunciation on that. It has a lot of animal style movements in it. Like I noticed that she was doing the cobra, and I'm not gonna say I'm like super well versed in this fighting style, but I have
taken taekwondo.
I have taken taekwondo. I've taken a few fighting classes in my life.
You couldn't beat a drum.
Shut up. I did recognize a few of the fighting styles, and one of the cool things I actually noticed was that she had a connection with the dogs. She made a connection with them.
When she stuck the she fed them from the jail.
Yeah, and when the dogs...
I missed that part, so it was like...
Oh.
Connection with the dog. What?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah, so she fed the dogs, and then the dogs ended up liking her, and I actually thought that was an interesting connection, given that she does animal style fighting.
Now that you say that, the thing I'd like to just criticize for a second. How they become like the beast dogs is El Balde cuts off pieces of his mother that's in like a sarcophagus and feeds it to things.
Yeah,
I wasn't kidding when I said
it's crazy. He's like, oh, do you want to know like something about beasts? Like if you feed them, like they're loyal to you. And so he like feeds them. They go all big and crazy, and their bones jet out like Abomination from like the first Hulk movie. Like that's what it reminded me of. And then like they get in the jail, and then it's like no loyalty whatsoever to him, because just immediately.
Yeah.
I would like to point out, we never talked about Piolo.
Piojo,
yeah.
That dude was fucking great.
Yeah, that dude's
I know,
funny.
I was so bummed when he died. Okay, so there's actually multiple characters that died in this. There's Domingo.
Domingo, we should start with Domingo. He's the very first thing you see in this show is this kid, running.
Second thing.
He's
one of the first characters that you think is going to be spotlighted.
Yeah.
You think this kid is going to be like the protagonist of the show when you first watch it, and then by the end of the first episode, he's
just dead.
Fucking dead.
Crushed by a Jesus statue.
Yeah.
Like, what a way to go.
Right.
It doesn't have a lot of plot armor, but there are points where it's a little plot armory. Mm-hmm. Just towards the main 5 people? Yeah. But everybody else is pretty much fair game.
Yeah. And there has to be some level of plot armor.
A little bit, yeah.
I do think that they do a decently good job at avoiding plot armor overall. I've seen shows that are a lot more guilty of it. But these characters do pay for their mistakes. They do pay, and they do get what's the word I'm looking for?
Closure?
Not closure, but more like the judgment. They get consequences.
Oh,
consequences happen, and it sticks with them. fucking the dude who got shot multiple fucking times. He broke his arm. It stayed broken. He's
cop?
getting arrested. Yeah.
Yeah, he got shot in the shoulder.
Who's
the
also
whole show, the rest of the show, he's doing this. And it's funny that you say that, because before they like storm the compound, he's like, "Oh, my left arm's my good arm." And then it comes to a point where he's up against this giant dude, and he's like, "Fuck it," and he just shoots him.
Yeah, pulls out his gun and
Like,
starts shooting.
he's just like, "I'm not gonna sit here and do this," which was nice. But
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
one of the best characters too, and we'll go through the characters, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, let's just do that now. We're on it. So let's just go through the characters. Who is your guys' favorite and least favorite character?
I think him and I were talking earlier. We both have the same least favorite character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Silencio. Silencio cannot talk because El Balde, when Silencio was a kid, cut Silencio's tongue out and murdered his parents in front of him. And so Silencio does not talk until, spoiler alert, at the end he does talk. But anyway, I understand Silencio has been through a lot of trauma, but this dude is kind of like a giant man-child.
he really is.
And he, like, and I say this once again, like, I have been known to be a man-child in my life, and so I can, yeah, like, he, like, just storms off and, like, has rage issues, and, like...
I think he's made to be unlikable.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, this is only a one-season show so far. I'm hoping for a continuation.
And that was maybe one of the things I was, like, as I was watching this, I was thinking, like, are they, like, intending for him to be kind of like a dick? And it's, like, probably a little bit.
I think so. Where I see his character going, I'm predicting, is more than likely they're making him out to be this fucking asshole.
And maybe
he's
that's
gonna
kind of...
have his character redemption that will hopefully make him a very satisfying character.
I don't think
with
he
a lot
should
of
have
payoff.
redemption. I honestly, it would be... That's a trope. Like, it's the Darth Vader... finally come back to the light side. Like, he just wants to live in peace, so...
Well, maybe they won't. I
think
don't
he shouldn't. I think he shouldn't.
The way this ends...
I personally don't have a preference one way or the other. I would say I'm more curious to see where the creators take it. Just from, like, a viewer standpoint. Of course, I have my bias, and I want to see certain things happen, because I am definitely one of those people who's like, ooh, ship these two characters together. Come on, guys, kiss.
We can't leave it to the directors. Look what happened to The Last Jedi.
Exactly.
But I from a viewer standpoint, I'm really just curious to see where the directors take it and how they write his character from here.
It'll be interesting to see how they balance the magic, kung fu.
Yeah. Who is your guys' favorite character, though, before we segue into another direction?
My favorite character is... Also, I have two... There's two characters that stick out, like, in a positive way to me, and that's the American cop. He's black. He's been sent down. His name's Bister, right? Brister. And this dude's just awesome because he's like a classic, like, blaxploitation 1970s cop. He's like banging his boss's wife, and his boss just, like, has to deal with it.
I
don't think he was actually doing it. I think that was just like a Yo Mama joke.
Really? She was like...
Yeah, she was naked in his bed
with him.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
Dead ass? Oh, I missed
that's the first scene he's in. Yeah.
Missed completely.
Oh my god. No, yeah.
No,
I thought it was a joke.
The detective
definitely
came to the
got her in
door
there.
and he was like, tell my wife to have dinner on the table when I get home. And then he went
He goes
back
back
into
and
his
she's
room.
like, who was that? He's like, that was your
he
husband.
was your husband.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
His deep-ass sexy voice.
Why you gotta do the voice like that?
Because it was deep and sexy. It was,
anyway.
Fuck you.
I
guy...
like how he doesn't, like, give a fuck about, like, the kung fu. Nothing. Like, this dude just shoots when he has to.
Yeah, exactly.
They're, like, on the stealth mission.
And
don't fight. And he just, pow, ruins the whole mission.
Was he your favorite character too then?
Well, I would say so, yeah.
He's probably my second favorite character. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say. Another thing I wanted to say about him is that one of my favorite, like, kind of running jokes, he's very much like a point of comic relief, and one of my favorite running jokes was he kept saying, like, I'm black, I'm not a gringo. Like, gringo is a foreigner, so it's just funny.
Yeah.
Like, he
thought it was slang for white
for
guy.
like white people. It was just a funny, like, whatever.
Yeah, his misunderstandings on the terms.
He's really funny and like,
and their culture too. Like he just doesn't. He's very just Americanized, so he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this Mexican
it's like
heritage witchcraft.
And the owl on he's like something about the owl. He said
that owl better be fucking dead.
Yeah.
I thought he was a really great tie-in to show like the culture shock, how he could still be connected to the characters, because they did make a point of racism. So I think that helped him tie in with the other characters and helped it ease into them getting along. But also that culture shock there that caused comic relief and some different perspectives on the character side.
Yeah.
I think every character had a moment where I was, except the black guy, except Blister. Every character, Brister, whatever, same shit. I'm the only one drinking when we mention fighting, so I'm like,
I've been drinking.
I'm going down. I think everybody had a point where I was like, I felt like they threw the character development like out the window. The scene where you were talking, how they talk about the racism, and he's like, I had to be under a bunch of fucking cracker ass
in
white
Vietnam.
dude. Yeah, like
he's a Vietnam
guy. But then like she was, I know, call you out and then I do it. But then she's like, oh yeah, try being like a fucking Mexican woman police officer, like. And then she just immediately turns around and instead of looking for evidence, going through due process, she's like, let's go talk to this witch doctor. That'll solve all. And it's like you can't sit there and be like, oh, it's so hard to be a police officer and then go do witchcraft. Like, that's why everyone thinks you're a shit cop.
So, actually, Garcia, the woman cop, her name is Garcia.
She got better down the line.
She got better.
Yeah.
One of the tropes that had me fucking dying was they'd be like, do your roll eye thing, and her eyes would roll into the back of her head, and it'd be like, boom, and it'd get real intense, and then it'd just stop, and she'd be like, no, nothing, it's just not working.
Yeah,
like,
no, I really
that
liked
had
that
me
too.
Laughing.
I thought I really liked that as well. But she was actually probably my least favorite character,
Really?
honestly.
Really?
Yeah, because at the beginning, it really bothered me how they're looking into this this big mystery, and when Isabella came in, she just completely wrote her off and walked out on an investigation she was doing.
She was annoying because she's like, nothing ever happens in this town.
And then the whole town goes to shit.
The whole town goes fucking like ape shit, and then she's like kind of bitching about it.
She did address it at one point. She was like, I just wish something would happen in my paradise, and I prayed every night that something would happen. I just didn't know it was this goddess who was listening to my prayers.
Oh, yeah.
So
I think that's towards the end
goddess
of the series,
of death,
isn't it?
Yeah, so it was addressed, but I'd say that she was probably, for me, my least favorite character, and it's hard for me to explain it. But I think that's the main reason, is because at the beginning I thought she was such a weak character. And as for my favorite character, it was actually Danny Trejo's character, El Balde. I thought he was such a solid character.
He's
good
a great villain.
He was he had this intensity to him that I absolutely loved. And Danny Trejo did a great job at capturing that intensity with his voice. He just has a perfect voice for a villain. I'm sorry, Danny Trejo.
Mm-hmm.
But
he does.
He does. He has a great voice.
And
he carried that character just so well. And I do enjoy when they did a little bit of backstory with him. It wasn't to make him redeemable. It was more to show that he was raised as a psycho. He was basically raised to be a psychopath.
It wasn't just trained. Like random.
Yeah.
Side question that has nothing to do with anything. Don't cut this out. His character in Spy Kids 3 was Machete. He played Machete in Spy Kids 3. It just clicked. Like.
Well, now we need to do a Spy Kids.
That's not even a question.
Retrospective.
It's not a question.
It's just like a comment.
We're gonna have just like
a side note.
We're gonna have one giant like Danny Trejo conspiracy theory podcast now. We delve into
all those
Danny
characters
Trejo,
are related.
Why don't you come on this podcast and defend yourself?
Yeah. Get your ass over here.
Come to Idaho, Danny Trejo.
Yeah, you won't. Can I get an autograph?
So
there's wine.
You said
Send me a machete.
You said your favorite character was
Brister.
Brister, sorry, yeah.
Blister.
And then for both of you, and then
well,
both of you also...
no. He was probably my second favorite.
I
would say, I don't know, maybe he's my favorite. I guess I'm like differentiating favorite versus like who I would like relate to most, I probably related most to Isabella because she just seemed to be the most logical out of anybody to me. Like Silencio, like I talked about maybe my issues with him, and then Jesus is kind of just like a big fucking oafish like drunk guy. So she's the one that's like, you know, I think your issue with her was she could have been more.
I felt like she was more emotional than she was logical.
I, to an extent, agree. I think she was trying to balance all the emotional, traumatic things that was happening versus trying to be the new lead for the family after her father passed away, because the family was falling apart. One of her brothers was basically a fucking psychopath, the other one was drunk.
Silencio's just a piece of shit.
So she has to be the lead, and
she's kind of like thrust into that position.
Yeah, she's definitely thrust in that position. So I can see how she would have this kind of dilemma, trying to balance her emotions and trying to be the new leader to the group.
I don't feel like she was trying to be a leader at all.
I thought she was trying to keep them at least structured. Maybe not leader, but trying to keep them
definitely
structured.
Together. She was trying to be like The Rock.
Yeah.
She was trying to be like
That's a good way to put it. She was trying to become the foundation that their master was, and she was just thrust into it, not ready for it. And both of her brothers had both of her brothers had such extreme issues. One having the rage problems and being a fucking psychopath, and the other one being a drunk.
Just an alcohol.
Yeah.
Brister at one point almost fucking did it again. when he gets the bottles because they're gonna do the thing at the very end, you know, and he's like, "Y'all don't have AA in Mexico, do you?" Like I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's got a lot of good like one-liners.
Can we all agree that the worst characters were El
Balde?
Yeah. Or his like
henchmen.
Men. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they got like beat by a bunch of children.
Oh yeah, the guy at the end who's the little girl.
Oh, you learn a lot living poor on the streets. Like, how to pick a pocket.
The little girl like cons him for his gun.
Cons him for his gun, and then they blast every fucking one of them in that town. Like
that was a little.
I don't know if I actually like that, but I don't know. I didn't really think much of like. They just seem like typical fucking henchmen that fucking you can easily.
I don't care what anyone says. A 7-year-old would not beat me. Like, catch me on the playground, like fighting waves of third graders. Like it just wouldn't happen.
It's third graders with guns now.
What are they gonna do? Actually hit me? The recoil is gonna throw it out of their hands.
They might accidentally shoot you in the leg or something.
Look,
come on.
I don't care if they're poor and learn pickpocketing from the streets.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see how Spy Kids 4 goes.
Yeah, Spy Kids 4.
Y'all are gonna get me fucking fired.
Is there? Maybe there's already a Spy Kids 4. I don't even know.
But we do have a small commercial break from our sponsor,
yeah.
So let's jump into that real quick. So this episode was brought to you by Mr. Sheldon Incorporated, and here we go. Have you been wondering what to do about those times you don't feel great? Looking for someone to plan your parties for you?
Me.
Yeah.
Well, fear not, because Mr. Sheldon Incorporated will plan your party for you.
Take my wallet!
Yeah! It will take all the stress out of planning and just leave you with the fun. Whether it's Labor Day, Halloween, or otherwise.
I love having a good Labor Day party.
I'm gonna be drunk either way.
Well, he also planned my Arbor Day party where I plant a tree in the backyard.
Hey, just focus on the fun with Mr. Sheldon Inc.
Does he do quinceañeras? That's very like
appropriate.
Appropriate.
Get 20% off your first booking when you use the promo code CraftyBeer at MrSheldonsDarkWeb.com. Book it today.
The dark web part kind of makes me a little concernicus.
You didn't hear that. No one said that.
Is it dark web or like deep web?
No, it's fake web.
Fake web.
Y'all are crazy.
Deep web.
Webs.
No love, deep web.
All the web. See, now I feel like I'm just in the show. Like, I'm just confused.
So, let's talk about the plot. The overarching, you fucked up.
Oh.
I'm sorry, you put a 6'2" giant
in a
this
tree fort.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the plot.
Let's talk about the plot.
What did you
This
guys,
should have been the addery. Damn it!
do I need to?
What do you guys think about?
We're going
the
off the
plot?
rails. The plot. What did I think about the plot?
The overarching story.
One of the things I said earlier in our aborted attempt at this podcast was
Jesus.
Y'all are gonna get me fucking fired. I haven't gotten off the ground yet.
Yeah,
I'm
the first podcast was third trimester, so we really fucked that up.
I'm fucking done for because of you guys.
Anyway, what I said before was this is 8 episodes for this first season of this, and I felt like that was just about enough. Maybe, but then you were saying also something about maybe they could have done more with like more of like a slow burn with some of this stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like I really do appreciate that they just jumped into this and went straight fucking for it.
Like hit the ground running.
At the same time, I feel like there's a lot of questions that could have been answered and a lot of well, not a lot. I don't think there's many issues from my personal opinion.
I think there's a lot more building they could have done.
Yeah, I really do think there could have been more building, more solidified characters, a little more love built up with Domingo and
it was just
that would have been even like more devastating.
Is if he made it to the end of the show and then Silencio was just like, no, shut up, and just
snapped his neck.
Yeah. That would have been better.
I definitely think there could have been better build up if they would have made the show go a little longer, and I'm very hard pressed to say that about a lot of shows. I hate it when shows go too long, and I think more often than not they outlive their lifespan.
I feel like though another thing was, like I said, it's 8 episodes, but it's like 25 minutes an episode. Mm-hmm. So it's like maybe they could.
Some are like 27. Some are.
I think it's like 27. Yeah. So maybe they could have done. Like, I don't know, 40 minutes an episode. Maybe you would have got more of that.
Or maybe even like 30. Like 30, 35.
It's like 10 more minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like.
Regardless.
Either that or do more episodes. Like 2 or 3. I think
in some way there should have been a little bit more show for a little bit more growth. And again, I'm really hard pressed to say that, but I think the show would have really benefited from that. I don't know why they didn't do it. I'm guessing it's probably like some Netflix contract.
Like that's 1,000% what it is.
But
it's Netflix.
I still think
you guys had me watch Netflix after Cuties came out. Come on.
Great, we're supporting child predators.
That's it.
I feel great.
I'm going home.
All right, now that we all feel dirty, let's go home and the podcast. Bye, guys. But I do think that for the overarching story that is going on in the 8 episodes that we have, I do think that it went really strongly, and I think they told a pretty solid story, and I don't think the story is really where the show shines, which is kind of unfortunate because it is interesting, but it is very combat driven. The combat in the show is absolutely pristine, and we kind of touched on this before with the different styles of kung fu that they spotlight in this. But I think just the choreography of it all is just brilliant, and it's so beautiful. If this is a absolutely brilliant thriller, action, gory, adult animation.
Another thing too is which we haven't talked about, we can probably talk about now, is like the audio in the show, and like not talking about the music. Music's pretty honestly like I was hoping for more with the music. I was hoping for more Mexican style music or like more diversity. It's very much just like a fucking generic ass
royalty free music.
Yeah,
the whole thing.
Yeah, I definitely felt like they could have played up the audio in a lot of different aspects. Quite a bit more. Well, maybe not quite a bit more, but more. Solidly more. The voice acting I felt did the job. Minus Danny Trejo, he did a fantastic job. I also think, who was the voice actor who played Luke Cage, who did Brister?
I forget his name, but yeah, it's the guy that plays Luke Cage.
Yeah, he also did a great job. I apologize, I'm not any good with names. But he also did a really good job. Everyone else, though, I felt kind of just did the job. They didn't do a great job, but they did the job. They looked, it was authentic, I suppose.
They all sounded Mexican.
Yeah.
Of Mexican descent.
Yeah.
But, and the Asian peoples two?
Two of
Yeah,
them.
the
They
The
sounded
masters. But what I was going for with the audio thing was like tying into the fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to it on headphones on my laptop, and the fights, the fight scenes and the sound design in that is like pretty amazing. Like the punches sound like it's not like they're like punching through drywall. Like
it's deep. It has this nice thud to it. It has this heaviness.
But it's also got the trope of the 70s.
I think that's part of like the charm too, though.
I need this drink.
Yeah. When Domingo steals the mango in like the first episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's charming.
All the rolls and it's a trope.
Yeah, I do
hits
think
the kung fu.
that audio was. I really did actually like that audio. I think it played out very well, at least on my speakers. I watched it on multiple different platforms, one of which was my computer, and I have just the thickest bass on my computer.
Sorry. I got distracted.
I have the thickest bass on my computer, and just every punch...
I don't like how you say that. I don't know why you say it like that.
Thick. Shut up. It's a beautiful bass, and it hits heavy.
You know that you have like no idea how to describe like how good like sound is when you use thick to describe sound.
It's hot and heavy and thick.
It's hot, heavy, and steamy. It'll bring romance back to your life.
It's a great bass, and every punch and hit it hit so well. It sounded excellent. But again, back
everything
to the voice acting,
music.
The music and
they had like one song in there that fucking Girlfriend No Arm played.
Yeah.
And like
should we talk about her? I don't know. I might be running out of time a little bit.
Yeah, we're running a little bit out of time. She felt more like a plot
girlfriend.
device for Silencio.
See, and you say plot device, I say shoehorned in to get the full eyebrow Super Saiyan 4 transformation. But we didn't talk about that either.
Silencio's
eyebrow.
eyebrow.
The full set of eyebrows in the next season. We'll talk about it then.
They're gonna be fucking out here.
When he gets too mad, his eyebrow turns white for some reason.
Well, every time he did something too, it wasn't just like when he got pissed off. And like Hulk raged. It was like he killed somebody or he...
It was like some emotionally triggering moment.
Action or... Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, he was either killing someone or his master died or someone died or he was about to kill someone because they hit a
and
fucking
then the eyebrow. Fuck. And like only a section of it too. But they were consistent because it always stayed...
Yeah, at least it wasn't like different every time.
Yeah. I'm waiting to see what I think about that aspect because it's just, I don't know. I'm waiting to see how they play it out, how they explain it, to really form an opinion on it yet.
It's Walmart Goku, Walmart brand Goku. I thought it was stupid. You have all the other like, and in any other show, it's like. Anakin Skywalker, you got the fucked up eyes.
Yeah.
Like, not that I'm a fan of it or not. Don't crucify me or cancel me on Twitter. I don't like Avatar The Last Airbender, but when he gets all pissed off, the eyes glow, the arrows glow. Mm-hmm. Like, there's indistinguishable ways and cool fucking ways to make somebody, like, go to the dark side. Super Saiyan, like, the whole hair changes. But you go with the fucking eyebrow.
There is actually a scene that I thought hit really well. It was when he like screamed when his master died. That was a good ending. When he screamed and it just went silent and there was that little just high pitched.
Yeah.
I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was so sharp. The eyebrow thing. I'm seing where it goes, but
was like the high pitch thing was like an old style horror movie. Type thing.
Yeah, I really liked that. I thought that was
and that goes back to what I was saying before. Like, there's elements of like other genres of like filmmaking and stuff, and that's for me as like more of an animation outsider. That's some of the things that I thought was like really cool about this show.
Mm-hmm. So let's end off because we are running out of time, unfortunately. What were your guys's highest point? Give me an overall 1 through 10 rating, and tell me what you thought the highest point of the show was and the lowest point.
1 through 10 rating, I would give it probably like 7.5 to an 8. strong 7 to a light 8 on the Fantano scale. Highest point, I remember, like, I think my favorite episode was probably, it's called, like, Cage Dogs. I think it's, like, episode 4. And it's the one with the dogs in the jail.
Yeah.
I thought that was probably my favorite episode, because there's just, like...
A lot goes down in that episode.
A lot goes on, and it's just, like, you're, like... That was probably the most, like, hooked to it I was. Because I was, like, doing other shit, too, as I was watching it.
Yeah.
Like,
the scene where they're having the shootout, because there's one shootout going on in like the cells, and then the other one in the main, and it like pans outside, and all you see is the flashes.
There's this flash, and then there's like a light, faint gunshot sound, and I love that.
Yeah,
that was like a freaking Scorsese movie from the 70s.
It reminded me of like
that.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say that too, and like there's a lot of like Breaking Bad shit in this, like almost like a neo-western type vibe too.
I wish somebody would be the one who knocked, but whatever.
Kenny, how about you? Oh wait, actually, what was your lowest point?
Oh, lowest point.
The whole thing, same.
Shut up.
My lowest point was like the Silencio with his girlfriend stuff was just like, I get that, like what you're saying, it's a plot point. It's important to have that, but it was just like, for me, it felt like kind of a chore to watch because I didn't like Silencio and I didn't think she was that interesting. You know.
Yeah. No, I see that. I honestly, I do have to agree with you. I didn't think she was a wholly interesting character, but I do think that she played an important part as a plot device. For now, I'll definitely see how that develops.
Yeah. Season 2.
Well, it's not going to develop so
Shut
much.
the fuck, get the fuck off my podcast.
Don't tell me what to do. I live in this podcast now. My knees can't come undone now. Like, I'm staying here forever now.
But I do think that she, while a lacking character, served a purpose.
There was
and
definitely
was
a purpose for it.
But I do understand
Could have
where
been
you're coming
flushed
from.
more.
Yeah, Kenny, how about you? What were your high and low? What overall rating would you give?
I think any scene with Brister was good.
Yeah.
I think that was a high point.
So Brister was the high point.
Yeah, just his character.
Blister was the high point.
Blister, Brister, Fister, Mr. Sister, Lister. A low point.
Twisted Sister.
I don't know. There was just so many with like the characters. Like they'd say one thing and then they'd like completely flop and just like totally forget it. Like the girlfriend. Oh, if you love me, you'll run away with me.
And then she stays
and then she stays there, and that was a piss poor decision on her part. And like the sister Isabel's always like, oh, you don't follow darkness, like you gotta stay here with us. And then Silencio's
Damn,
just
you should have been a voice actor.
I know. I'm available. My Twitter is Jester153. Thanks. Send me a DM. But she's like, oh, don't go to the dark side. Like, stay with us. And he's like, yeah, that'd be cool and all. Like, I'm gonna dig my thumbs into this guy's eye holes. My eyebrow's gonna get a little white. What's up?
So, what overall rating would you give the show?
I'd give it a solid like IPA that got left out for like an hour. like I'm gonna drink it, but I'm not gonna be like super enthusiastic about it.
That's solid. Okay, I'll take it.
It's going to get consumed. But
for me, as the biggest fan of this here, I would definitely give this an 8.5 to a 9. I'd say it's a really solid show, and I definitely think it's something that's worth watching because there are so many great elements to it. The combat is pristine. It has solid enough characters. I'm still kind of waiting to see how they flesh them out a little bit more. But really the combat is what shines the most in this, and I really think it has sharp, great animation. Even though there are a few criticisms there, I think it really is great animation. And really
it's just Western.
The lowest point for me with this show is probably the audio and just a couple of questions that I have and things I feel like could have been clarified just a little bit better. But overall, I think it's a really solid show, and I'm really excited to see where they take it if we get a second season. Please, Netflix, quit releasing shit and give me a fucking second season.
Please, Netflix, Seis Manos, quit sexualizing little girls.
Yeah, no more little girl shit, please.
Canceled. canceled.
You're out of here. But that's about all.
It's a big no for me.
It's a
That's
no
gonna be a
for
no
me,
for me, dog.
All right, but that is all the time we have for tonight, unfortunately. Please, everyone, enjoy the rest of your drink. I still have some left. Oh, fuck you.
I drank 2 drinks this whole podcast.
Should we pan the camera over?
Yeah, to my mass of empty beer bottle, and then I even brought a bottle with me, just in case.
He has glasses and fucking a bottle. I have a singular glass I haven't even finished yet, and you actually fucking did better than me, and you don't even drink. But everyone watching, please enjoy the rest of your drink, stay safe, and enjoy the buzz. If you enjoyed this episode, please do follow us at Happy Hour Animation on either SoundCloud or YouTube. Like and subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.